My customers are by far my best sales force. But the two most important things to master here are rapport and relationships. Rapport and relationships. Someone give me a definition of rapport. Commonality, excellent. What could have been another definition of rapport be? Connection. Say again? Missed that one? Oh, mutuality, feeling mutual. Okay. Trust, community, respect, synergy, resonating. So there's a lot of different interpretations to what rapport is, and there's no real right or wrong answer here, guys. What there is an understanding of how to generate rapport. But for me, the definition, one of the best definitions I've heard is it is a relationship of responsiveness. A relationship of responsiveness. And if you master rapport and understand the role that it plays in business, you can have a bit of a jump start. Because understanding how people communicate, and you're going to have a masterclass on this tonight, will allow you to really start realizing that you are not the star of your own movie. You are a film extra in somebody else's movie. So whose movie do you think you should be taking note of if you want to exchange value and business with them? Yours or your clients? Damn right you should. And most people assume that they should look to us as the star in our movie and look at it from those eyes. And it's a fast track to rolling the dice. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. So I'm going to give a very basic overview here on quite a common skill that most people are aware of, but I wanted to show you how to use this very simply in business. And the skill that is a communication skill, something called NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Most people heard of that? Yeah. For those that haven't, don't worry. It's a fancy term invented by a guy called Richard Bandler and John Grindler back in the 70s for essentially non-verbal communication, or verbal and non-verbal communication, and on the human nervous system, on how to use language patterns and non-verbal language to communicate effectively. And like any tool, you can use it to manipulate and you can use it to influence. The only difference is intention. Same skill set. So, a lot of people, NLP got a bit of a bad rap because a lot of people were using it to try and manipulate to get their own agenda. Why would they do that? Because they're still dealing with their own stuff on the primary fear, still dealing with their own stuff on trying to get their need for significance, etc., etc. Now you can see the knock-on effect when you raise growth and contribution to the top of your needs list rather than significance, or connection or certainty, etc. So, NLP, what I'm going to share with you here is just a basic overview on how you can use it in initial communication. And we all have 5 senses that come into the body. What are they? Physical senses. Smell, sight, hearing, taste, and touch. Now, bearing in mind that we cannot experience anything in consciousness in terms of our outer reality that we don't interpret or filter first through one of those 5 senses. Now again, we learned yesterday that there's a lot more to life than what we perceive through the 5 senses. But for now, let's just stick with the 5, because that's a whole different workshop. So, if I'm experiencing an event, do I experience it the same as somebody else? No. For example, how many of us all like the same food? It's a variable. How many of us all like the same music? Different variable. Even the same sense of smell, which is why there's such a big market for different colognes, perfumes, aftershaves. We even have a different sense about what we like to smell. What about same favorite color? Again, another variable. Even tactile sensations. We vary on what we like to feel. So, what I'm getting at here, if you start to understand that 2 people could be standing next to each other, they could experience the exact same event in real time, use the same equipment to process that event called the 5 senses, yet come up with an entirely different conclusion. Understand? My question is, who's right? Now, those driven by the need for significance would say, me, damn it. Me, dummy. However, the truth is that we all experience our own reality differently. And that's even before you start bringing in cultural experiences, different belief systems, different levels of meaning, based on different significant emotional events in our past or different need structure. There's a kaleidoscopically unique array of experience and emotions that human beings go through, and just because you're standing next to each other, don't even for a second think that they see, hear, smell what you see, hear, or smell. That's not how it works. So, on that note, if you take a personal example, what does it mean? It means that no two people are going to be the same, and therefore, if you try to impose your model of the world on somebody else, which a lot of people do because they need validation that their model is right by getting other people to approve it, then you're essentially swimming upstream. That's another tunnel with no cheese. However, if you start to understand what I just said, then you can start coming far more from tolerance than you do judgment. And tolerance has far higher frequency than judgment. As you're going to learn tonight, you cannot, the second you start to judge somebody, you will lose all ability to influence them. The second you judge somebody, you lose all ability to learn anything from them, do you not? So, we're going to have a little bonus session tonight where we really go into that and start to understand what I'm going to share with you a little more. But I want to give you a taster right now. So, out of the 5 senses, we tend to lean on 3 more than the other 2 in terms of interacting with our day-to-day life. Just like, how many people here are right-handed? Okay, how many are left-handers? Okay, I've got news for you. None of you. You're all both-handed. You just happen to favor one more than the other. Trick question. On a Sunday as well. Damn. Okay, understand? So you have access to both. So what I'm going to share with you, the 3 predominant senses that we process things through. The first one is visual, through sight. The second one is auditory, which is hearing. And the fourth one, let's go green, is kinesthetic, which is touch. Okay? Now, let's get my colors here. There we go. Now, each one of these, we all are. We're all of them. However, just like left or right hand, we tend to favor one more than the other when it comes to processing a lot of our information. Now, each of these has a different set of characteristics. So if you lean more towards the visual level of communication, what tends to happen is that you will usually speak a little faster. One of the reasons for that is that 80% of the sensory processing information power of the brain is given over to visual. Why? Because there's so much more information coming in visually than there is anything else. That's why your reticular activating system works overdrive, sweeping stuff under the carpet visually, which can be retrieved. For example, under hypnosis, whereby we go back under the rug, you can pull out number plates of cars you saw on the motorway 3 weeks ago. That's how powerful the brain is. But if we try to remember all of that, we'd go crazy. But the visual people tend to talk a little quicker because there's so much information coming in, right? They tend to want to get through it quickly. They also gesticulate a lot. They talk with their hands. Anybody got any inkling as to if I'm visual or not? Right. So, I tend to be visual. Now, it's a rule of thumb, and there's no right or wrong here, guys. There is no better or worse. Right-handed versus left-handed is not a better or worse. It is a preference, understand? So there's no judgment here, otherwise we lose the message. But as an indicator, many entrepreneurs tend to be visual. Not always exceptions. But why do you think that is? They see their vision. Entrepreneurs are usually visionaries, because you have to see something before you create it, do you not? Now, you can obviously hear it and feel it as well, but most of the time, again, you go to Solomon, if men lack vision, they perish. So, the visionaries tend to be more visual. Say, not all the time, but as something to note. Now, visual people, although they talk quickly, and although they gesticulate a lot, when they're in a visual mode, one of the biggest giveaways is the language patterns. So they will use language or sensory-based language patterns unconsciously. I see what you mean. How can you see what I mean if I've not got words coming actually out of my mouth? But visual people don't get that because they see it. Oh, you see what I mean? Oh, that looks great. The future's bright. Visual-based language is usually how it's given away because they're thinking in visual terms. Auditory people, tend to talk a little bit slower, and they have a little bit more range of tonality because they process most of their world through their hearing sense as a primary rather than as a secondary. Understand? And again, visual people can be very much in an auditory mode. Right-handed people also use their left hand. We're talking preference here. So auditory people talk a little bit slower, a little bit more melodic, and there's a little bit more tempo tonality in it. They probably listen to music more than visual people, or get more inspired or feel connected to music. However, what gives it away very quickly is the auditory-based language patterns. Oh, I hear what you're saying, not I see what you're saying. Ah, sounds good. That rings a bell. All auditory-based language. And again, you're going to learn a little bit more about this tonight on the bonus session. Kinesthetic people tend to talk a lot slower because they tend to process their world and their experience as a primary sense through feelings. So, I know how you feel. You've got to take the rough with the smooth. Yeah, this deal is hot. See where I'm coming from? Who but a visual person would say, see where I'm coming from? So, if you are in business and you are a visual salesperson, I owned a large chain of health clubs a few years back called Energy, Health and Fitness, which I founded in 2002 with a co-founder. And I sold it in 2005. But if you've got a person coming into a health club and you've got a visual salesperson and they want to try and show you how the equipment works or show you the terms of the deal, if you're auditory, have you got rapport? No. Yeah, you want to be told how this deal works. You want to be told about the great things about the club. You want to hear how the deal's constructed. You want to listen to the instructions on how to work the machines. Visual people, show me. Take me on a tour. Understand? So salespeople tend to be successful if they're in their own modality with people who match that modality because there is rapport. And as you're going to learn later this evening, the role that rapport plays in sales is huge. People buy people before they buy their products, ideas, or concepts. So as a visual person, if you are working with an auditory, whose responsibility is it to shift? Do you expect the client to become visual? Well, I'm the star of my own movie. Of course it is. Get visual or don't buy. Yeah, see how long you last in business with that one. So no, your role is to be flexible. So when I was on the phone, or when I ran a company, I had a telesales-based company called the Worldwide Health Corporation, where we actually took a lot of orders for natural health products. And a great company, built it to one of the biggest, most successful in Europe. I sold it in 2005 when I went to Canada. And still going strong today. In fact, got resold, I think, in 2011 to another big company. Very proud of it. But we became one of the largest companies of our kind in the industry, and we sold the most expensive products in the industry. Our margins were great. And our customers would rather step in front of traffic than go and buy something cheaper, even if it was the same quality, because it wasn't about buying the product and trying to get it cheap. If you're competing on price, something you should never do, you're always an undercut away from going out of business to your competitor, correct? And you should be allergic to small margins. You want to teach the marketplace a better way to buy rather than focus them on competing on price. So if you want to get rapport with somebody, what my girls would do, they would answer the phone. Now, if you are kinesthetic, oh, hi there, yes, I'd like to buy some more vitamins, please. And you have somebody visual on the phone, absolutely, no problem, Mr. Johnson. How can I take your order? Do you think there's a disconnect? Or if you answer the phone, oh, good afternoon, this is Worldwide Health, Jenny speaking, how may I help you? And you've got a visual person on the other phone, they're already asleep. Right? Very little rapport. So you need to be able to find out where they're at and match it. Now, what I used to do, I used to come in or get the girls to come in somewhere high auditory, low visual, so you're not over the top, but it's a more positive energy, high level of energy, understand? So my girls on the phone say, oh, good afternoon, this is Jenny, Worldwide Health, how can I help? Yep, it's not super nuclear visual, it's not kinesthetic, right? Somewhere in the middle. And then they shut up and they listen. And if the client then turns around and says, oh, hi, Jenny, great to hear from you again. I'm just ringing up because I need to order some products. At that particular point, where does she go? Up. She matches. Oh, certainly, Mr. Smith. Let me take your postcode. Let me bring up your details. Now, unconsciously, Mr. Smith at that point thinks, I found a friend. There's an unconscious level of connection. Oh, good afternoon, Worldwide Health. Jenny speaking. How may I help you? Oh, hi, Jenny. Yes, it's Mr. Smith here. I'm just ringing up to order some more products. Oh, no problem, Mr. Smith. Great to hear from you again. Let me just pick up your details. And Mr. Smith thinks, I found a friend. Unconscious level of connection. So matching here is very important for being able to create rapport. Most salespeople haven't got a clue. They just think they get lucky if they sell something and blame their own skill set when it was probably a roll of the dice that somebody's matching your modality. Understand? So understanding this can be very, very powerful. Understanding not just in sales, but in general. My staff were clued in, they were listening. What is the language patterns that they're using? Now, usually the tonality can give it away, but if you're listening to somebody, again, oh, I hear what you're saying. Now, oh, yeah, that sounds great. Oh, no, these new products look fabulous. Which modality? Which modality? Visual. Oh, I hear these new products are great. Auditory. Right. I really get a feel that these new products are going to work. It's not rocket science, but it can make a huge difference in terms of your connection to the client or the customer. Now, what do you think visual people in normal circumstances think of kinesthetic people? Hurry up! Get to the point. Right? What do you think these kinesthetic people think of these fast-talking visuals? Can't trust them. Slickers. Freaking sleazy salespeople. What if they're married? Oh, somebody had a light bulb. Yeah. It's about understanding, not judging. With me? So I just want to throw that out there as a little intro on rapport, because if you discount that, you're discounting a huge thing. And most people are trying to write better copy, better headlines, or they're trying to say, oh no, I'm going to compete on price, or I'm going to get the next best widget, or I'm going to do this. And they miss the most basic fundamental level of connection. If you're writing copy, you want to include all different variants of the language so that people can relate depending on where they're at. Now, you can also pace and lead. If I've got somebody who's kinesthetic, where am I going to go? I'm going to come in at kinesthetic, I'm going to build a level of connection, then I'm going to amplify my energy up a little higher and see if I can bring them with me. But if I come in at kinesthetic, you get somebody who's upset, for example, in the kinesthetic or a low free energy state, right? And you say, hey, come on, wake up, it's not that bad. They're going to look at you with kiss my ass. So if you have a responsibility for knowing where they're at, you can come in and move somebody. It's called pacing and leading. But don't expect somebody to jump to your level. That doesn't work. That's lazy. Okay, makes sense? Okay, now, I talked about rapport and relationships. Modality matching is a huge part of that. But what I really want to share with you today is mastering the 3 levels of relationship. And these 3 levels are very rarely talked about or understood, but they play such an important role when you find out or you understand how to create this, because most businesses are clueless. The first level of relationship is what I call level 1. Level 1 is very simple. It is an egocentric relationship where you meet my needs. Yeah? You meet my needs. Why? Because that's what I want. What would be a great example of a level 1 relationship? Baby. Do babies care if you want sleep and they're hungry? Whose need is it at that point? Mummy's need for sleep, or feed me now or I'm going to scream the house down, bitch. So babies are very egocentric. It's all about them. Now, how many people here know somebody that may have been in a level 1 relationship with somebody that wasn't a baby? Again, if they're still dealing with their own insecurities, avoiding the fear that they're not good enough, driven by a need for significance or whatever it may be, you'll tend to find there's a lot of people where it's all about who? Them. Right? How much fun is it to be in a relationship with that person? Not happening. So in business, level 1 doesn't exist. And because if you're not serving your customers' needs at any level, how much business are you getting? Zippo. So there is another level. It's level 2. Level 2 is where you meet my needs and I meet your needs. Well, that sounds like a better deal. That's the level of transaction. It's a commercial relationship or a horse trade. You meet my needs, I meet your needs. That sounds great, doesn't it? In a personal relationship, it's like, well, okay, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you meet my needs. That's fabulous. Yeah, and it can transcend into things like, you pick up the kids from school, I'll cook the dinner. Yeah, he meets my needs for love or connection or significance. I go out with somebody for my needs for significance, and they meet it because they're a famous person or a good-looking person. I get my significance from that. And all of a sudden, they're not rich or famous anymore. What happens? My needs no longer met. Next, see you later. Or, it's a case of, I have a need for certainty, so I'm with somebody who can provide for me. Fine, you meet my need. That's great. But all of a sudden, they file for bankruptcy. How long do I hang around? Not happening. In business, very simple. You meet my needs, I meet yours. You give me £599 and I'll give you an iPhone. And you give me $199, I'll give you a Big Mac. Yeah, it's transactional. And that's where a vast majority of businesses operate from, a level 2 relationship. Now, can anybody see a problem in a level 2 relationship? Yes, my friend. Say again, shout out. No loyalty. Today more than anywhere, you can have somebody that's been loyal to you for 5 years suddenly shift loyalty how fast? In a commercial break. Done. If you've trained your customers to be level 2, the second you're not meeting their needs, do not expect them to continue to meet yours. What else? Again, no connection, no transactional, no loyalty. Yep. People's needs change. What a concept. See, if you start dating somebody and it seems like a match made in heaven, it probably is because your needs are being met together. Wow, isn't that great? Wonderful. Yeah, the love fairy's out. Everything's great. There's rainbows. How long does that last? And a lot of the time, it's not because they become different people, but the energy shifts, and most of that is because our needs change. Are you a different person today than who you were 5 years ago? Damn right. Are you going to be different 5 years from now? Are your needs going to shift? Guaranteed. It's part of the process. It's part of life. It's part of how we evolve. Whether our level of consciousness goes up or whether our experience expands, doesn't matter. Our needs are different and changing. Now, most people don't even know what their own needs are. Some of you found that out yesterday quite quickly, didn't you? How many people here found out that one of their top 2 needs was either significance or certainty for the first time yesterday? Your hands up. How many people finally now know that it may be an opportunity to shift that into something that expands you? Yeah. Now, what if your partner doesn't? What if they like the person that was there because it was meeting one of their needs? You see, level 2 has a built-in time limit. If you do not keep up with the needs of your customers, I promise you somebody else will. One of Bill Gates' famous sayings, we obsolete our own products before somebody else does. So learning that if you live in level 2, then I've got news for you. You're on a time limit, and it's hard. And your customer base will be attrition. If you are getting involved from a staff perspective, staff is usually for most companies, most business owners, a level 2 relationship. What's the level 2 relationship for a lot of staff? You pay me a salary, and I'll give you hours a week, correct? But is that the only need? Usually that's a need for certainty, is it not? What if their primary driving need is significance? Do you know anyone that's ever gone and swapped a job that they weren't enjoying for less pay and were happy about it? Absolutely. So it wasn't the money. So it wasn't certainty. Maybe their driving need was significance and they were getting more money, but they were being treated like shit. If their need is significance, one pat on the back in front of the rest of the staff can have way more motivation than an extra £5 an hour increase in salary. Your responsibility to start understanding what are the needs that are driving your staff. And again, it's all of them. We're all visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. We're both left and right-handed, but we have a preference. And those preferences can shift depending on our values and circumstances. So your responsibility is to start looking with a heightened level of sensory acuity, like having 2 little antennae up here, right? Always looking, always searching, like little Scooby ears. right? Trying to listen and look for what are the signs, what are the cues, being on the ball, rather than just sit back passively trying to react to what you think they should do to meet your needs because you're paying their wages and they should be happy for the damn job. That doesn't work. So a level 2 relationship will have a built-in time limit. And usually what will happen is that will come to an end and you'll find somebody else that then meets those needs at that particular time. Unfortunately, my experience, not my personal experience, because I've never been married yet, but my experience of working with couples is that most people get married into a level 2 relationship. Now, the challenge there, my friends, is this, that not so much these days, but certainly historically, as little as 10 years ago, divorce was still a far bigger thing than it is today, even though it's prevalent right now. And certainly historically, most women, and ladies, I'm picking on you here for a reason, but it's from a place of love. Most women will usually settle for staying unhappy in a level 2 relationship as a trade-off for the certainty that it gives them, or the way to avoid the uncertainty of walking out on their own. And many different patterns around that. So if you were to swap out and embrace uncertainty and go for fulfillment, it would break that pattern. But most people aren't because certainty is high on their list. So, is there a better way? Absolutely. And it's a way that very few businesses play out. And it's what I call a level 3. Level 3 is where your needs become my needs. My needs become your needs. And we're focusing that on a very different mentality here. It's a case of how do I put myself in your shoes and blow the socks off you by going over and above to make sure that your needs are met and over-delivered on. Not focusing on, well, hang on a minute, that's not my job. I don't get paid enough for that. Do what? Level 2. So, give you some examples of what this can look like. See, level 3 in a personal relationship is if your partner, what are their needs? If it's for variety, what are you doing to constantly surprise them? If it's for love and connection, how are you constantly reinforcing that? Not because you need something back or validation, because you want to light them up. And ladies, trust me, your man lives for lighting you up. Men, am I right? A man lives for lighting up his woman. The man wants to be the hero. If you can find a way to make him be the hero, he will love you to bits. That's one of his primary needs, to feel that he means something to you. But most women, because they're dealing with their own stuff, as we all are, usually throw obstacles in there that they're not aware of. But a guy lives for lighting up his woman, especially if he gives him the opportunity to step up to level 3. Now, most guys that are level 2 players may not take that opportunity. If they're level 1, you should close the door on them anyway. But that's another conversation. So, if you are in business and you are level 3 with your staff, the two most important things in my business career, my friends, listen closely now. The two most important things in my business career are my staff and my customers, in that order. See, how do most business owners have it? Other way around. Most business owners focus on the customer. The customer is king. The customer is always right. Shut up and listen to the customer. And what they'll do is they will berate their staff if they think their clients or their customers are not being looked after. But who is the interface? Who's in the trenches? Who is your vocal piece? Who's your front of house? They're your ambassadors. And if they feel like shit, I've got news for you. Your clients ain't feeling great. So your staff... my staff are always important. I took my staff away for surprise trips. I always made sure that their needs were looked after. I focused on how do I make them feel outstanding. Trust me, ladies, you make your guy feel $1 million, how do you think he's going to make you feel? Same deal. And guys, same way around. You light up your woman, you got nothing to worry about. Well, maybe not nothing, but by the very nature of being feminine, she will keep you on your toes. Embrace the journey. It's beautiful. So, as a level 3 business, you have to think differently. It's no longer transactional, which means if you have a business that is ran by accountants or left-brain people, they cannot grasp this concept. And as most of the world is left-brained, I'm giving you a huge advantage here. An accountant will look at line items. An accountant will measure things that can be measured. Left brain. Any accountants in the room, by the way? Okay, a few of you. You know exactly what I mean. So if you understand where we go with this, I'll give you some examples in action here. All right, here's 3 companies I want to give you an example of. Energy, Health, and Fitness, which was the chain of health clubs that I built, still going very strong. We've just gone past 100 clubs. It's about $30 million a year in business right now. I'm very proud of Energy. They just called me back as the original founder to give their keynote address at their 10-year anniversary. And yeah, when I bought Energy from out of a chain that went into bankruptcy. The reason it went into bankruptcy is because it had been taken over by accountants, but that's a whole different story. Right, and accountants were cutting costs because it seemed logical to save, but the more they cut costs, the less resources they had to try and please their clients. So the less membership they got. The less membership they got, the less funds they got. The less funds they got, the more they had to cut costs. Anyone seen that cycle before? Yeah, very common. So with Energy, we bought a chain of 8 clubs that had gone into bankruptcy. And again, I did it with Capital versus Initiative. I actually put a deal together with my co-founder, Jan, and we essentially got negotiated with the receiver, and we kind of were going into a negotiation where essentially you look for reasons, just like buying a house. You look for reasons to pay less, and they look for reasons to mitigate it. We found a whole bunch of reasons that we could go with. We kept quiet. We go right to the end because the official receiver's primary focus is what? Get it off their books, move on to the next one. So we got right to the last minute. We stalled negotiations. We then hit them with a low-ball offer based upon all the other information that we then presented that we were having second thoughts about, thinking that if it's so low, when they stop laughing, we can negotiate something cool. They accepted very close to the low-ball offer. We then stored the actual purchase till the last day of the month. We signed the deal on the last day of the month. The clubs officially became ours. We wrote out a check. And the next day, what happens in the health club business? First of the month. All the memberships come in. We actually bought the clubs out of future cash flow from businesses we didn't own at the time. It's a very cool, no money down kind of deal. Now, the other thing is I had 2 of the clubs already pre-sold for more than I was paying for the 8. And the reason for that is I've gone to some of the club owners around the country that are kind of mom-and-pop model shops that have got a nice club, they're doing well, they're looking to expand. Another club would fit their portfolio. Another 8 clubs, they couldn't handle the back office, too big expansion, understand? So I could charge a premium for individual clubs. So we sold 2 of the clubs for more than we paid for the 8. And as a result, we even bought the 8 out of future cash flow on clubs that we didn't own when we signed the deal. It was kind of fun. But when I got into Energy, the reason that I was so excited about getting into the health club business was because I didn't see level 3 in the health club business. The health club business focuses on essentially replacing drop-offs. Attrition is the biggest problem in the health club industry. In fact, the business model survives on it. Got 1,000 people join my club, but if they all show up on Monday, we're screwed. Right? But I couldn't also compete on cash flow with David Lloyd, with Fitness First, with 24-Hour Fitness. They had much bigger budgets. But all of those companies were competing at a different level. They were competing on bells and whistles. And the bells and whistles that they were competing on were, I've got a bigger jacuzzi. I've got a more modern set of treadmills. I've got a bigger facility. Understand? It's the game most people play. How can I out-budget you and therefore be better? Don't play that game. It's expensive. So instead, we went for raving fans. And what I did was I set up a raving fan fund. And this was based on the Ritz-Carlton model. The Ritz-Carlton, this was shown to me, their model, by their worldwide head of customer service that I spoke to at an event a few years back. And they're explaining that they have a policy at the Ritz-Carlton where they have $2,000 as a limit that any single person that works for the Ritz-Carlton, whether it's a floor manager or whether it's a person that changes the light bulb, can request to solve guest problems. Now, an accountant would freak out. They think, oh my God, that's open to abuse. But it doesn't happen. Not if the culture is right. And so I'll give you an example. Ritz-Carlton in California, in Los Angeles, has an afternoon tea on a Sunday. Booked out solid. Little old couple want to celebrate their wedding anniversary. They've saved up. They're going to have afternoon tea at the Ritz-Carlton. Beautiful. They get in their car and they drive up. They break down on the 405 freeway, which if anyone's been to Los Angeles, you'll know is not fun. And so they call on their cell phone and say, listen, we're very sorry. We're actually going to be late. There's a problem with the car, and we're not sure if we make it. We're probably going to be an hour late. Is there any way that you can push it forward? Now, a level 1 company wouldn't be a company because they wouldn't be in business. A level 2 company, if they're at the bottom end of that, they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, we've got a waiting list, and but we can rebook you for next time. A decent company would say, yeah, probably no problem. sir, we'll keep the table for you for an hour. Yep. Level 2. Ritz-Carlton isn't level 2, it's level 3. So instead, they pick up the phone, they say, no problem, please let me know where you are. And so they give the place on the 405. It says, right, we're going to send a car with 2 people. One is going to stay there for the tow truck that we're going to be sending and organizing, and the other one is going to bring you in the limousine. We'll see you in 25 minutes. Huh? Now, what do you think the person on the phone is saying? Wow is the word we were looking for there. Yeah, it's about creating wow factors. Yeah, the Ritz-Carlton, another story that they shared. Person is checking out, and they leave their briefcase at reception. The taxi's putting it all in the trunk, and they jump in, heading to LAX, Los Angeles Airport. And you know you travel too much when you give airports in codes, don't you? Yeah. Yeah, where's the hotel? Next to LHR. So, dives in the cab, goes to the airport, gets out of the airport, he's late for his flight, and anyway, he's getting all his stuff out, realizes that one of his bags, his laptop bag, has been left at reception. The bellboy didn't pick it up, didn't realize it was part of that. It's now, oh my God, calls the hotel straight away. Speaks to the bellboy. Bellboy grabs that and jumps in a cab to the airport to deliver it personally. But unfortunately, it's too late. Yeah, the guy's already had to go through security, already boards the flight, and he's gone. So the bellboy books himself on the next flight to London. $2,000 per customer solving guest problems. Gets in London, goes to the guy, meets him face to face, hands him his laptop. Now, if you're then going to book your next hotel, are you going Hilton or Ritz-Carlton? Dude, right? Simple. So I was inspired by that policy, so I created a raving fan fund for energy. And I said, right, here's the deal. £500 in the safe in each of the health clubs. And every single person, from the person that sweeps the floor in the aerobic studio at night to the person who is the club manager, has the authority, without question, to request up to £50 a time to look for opportunities to impress. In fact, our motto is we hunt for opportunities to impress. And my biggest challenge, because they'd already been ran down a lot of the existing staff by the accountants and forced and trained and conditioned to cut costs and not spend, my biggest problem in the first 2 months was getting them to spend it. I'd be like, listen, if there's £500 in that safe, if there's any money in that safe at the end of the month, I want to know why. It means you're not looking hard enough. And it was a real mind shift for them. But we started to get it. They started to really get into the spirit of creating raving fans. And so I'll give you some examples. Guy walks in one day, and he's on his cell phone. He walks through the turnstile, and lady on reception is there. And, of course, they've all got their little antenna up. They're always hunting for opportunities to impress. And he's talking to his friend on the phone. He's upset because he's got a flat tire. He's just pulled up and he's got a freaking puncture. But he's just going to go and have a workout, try and blast it out of his system, and then sort it out. He comes back down about an hour later. He says, oh, Mr. Johnson, yes, hi, I couldn't help but overhear when you came in, you're on your cell phone, that you got a puncture. Yeah, I know, I'm just going to sort it out now. I don't know, I'm going to have to put the spare on, what have you. So, well, look, I went out in the car park, I saw the car. There's actually a nail in the tire. It's our car park, therefore it's our nail, therefore we take responsibility. So while you've been working out, I actually had a mobile quick fit person come in. We've changed the tire, it's all repaired. It's just being washed. If you can wait 5 more minutes, it'll be ready. What's the word we're looking for? Wow. Now, David Lloyd opens next door, and they happen to have more jets in their jacuzzi. Is he going? Not a prayer. And that time costs less than £50 to make that happen. Woman comes in for a massage, but the massage therapist is sick, and all of the clients have been called and rebooked, but couldn't get hold of this woman, so they knew she was going to turn up. So she turns up for a massage, said, listen, I'm very sorry, but the massage therapist is calling sick. Not a lot we can do about that, but we knew you were going to show up. Very sorry. I mean, what a good level 2 company would do is say, listen, let's give you a complimentary massage next time to make up for it. Yeah, you'd be okay with that. But that's level 2. We want level 3. So they said, well, sorry, we knew you were going to show up, but what we've done, we've rang around and we've actually booked you a massage in a rival health club just down the road. They're waiting for you. The taxi's outside. What does it cost? Less than £50. I mean, it's little things like that. Now, if I put that £500 into an advertising campaign in Men's Health, what do you think I'm going to get next to David Lloyd's double-page spread? Nothing. But if I have each club generating £500, and it doesn't have to be £50 a time. I remember when I was with Worldwide Health, the mail order company, and one of the girls was listening to a woman on the phone, and she was coughing. So what did she do? In a lunch hour, she went out of her own pocket, cost her a whole £1, bought a packet of throat sweets, and she put it in a little jiffy bag with a little handwritten note saying, listen, I heard you were coughing on the phone. I thought, when I get a cough, these help me. I thought they might help you, and sent it off. About £1.50 in total investment and a bit of thinking time. When was the last time, my friends, you were coughing on the phone and you got a surprise jiffy bag with throat sweets the next day from a company you're on the phone to? Anyone? No. £1.50. You can start to understand how to start shifting your mindset here. Now, I'm very pleased and proud of this event because even though I've invited them for the last 3 and it hasn't quite worked out, I'm joined, as you see, by Barry and Chelsea here from the Barry Stephen Academy. And one of the reasons I really respect Barry is because many, many years ago when he had his first salon in my little home village called Anstey in Leicester, I went in. And I went in on a recommendation from my girlfriend. My girlfriend had gone there because she couldn't get into our usual salon. And she came out and she says, wow, I've just had my hair done at this place. You have to try it. And of course, the first thing I think of is there is the referral bonus. No, I'm kidding. And so, no, I went in and I was blown away. The experience that I had was so different that they made me feel like I wanted to be a raving fan. It was all about me and my needs. Very different to an experience I'd have in an average salon, which is you give us 30, 40, 50 quid and we'll give you a decent haircut. Right, that's level 2. And at that point, I actually wrote a letter to Barry. And I said, listen, I've taught customer service around the world for many years, and it's very rare that I get the opportunity to thank people. And your staff was so amazing. I wanted to just say, staff, in my experience, are always a reflection of the management and the leadership that they have. And so you must be doing an awesome job. I want to say thank you. And if you've never heard of the book Raving Fans, here's a copy, and you're doing awesome. And Barry never forgot that, and we became lifelong friends since, how many years ago was that, Barry? 20-odd years ago. And since then, we've done a lot of business. I've recommended the guy. We've become, very close, and I'm really proud and honored the fact that as a living example of raving fans, he was able to be here today. Give him a hand. If you walk into Barry's salon right now, any of his many award-winning salons in Leicestershire, and it's been a privilege to watch his 20-year journey on that, you'll sit down and the first thing you will see is his raving fan policy, also known as his private jet promise. And he gives an experience as to how you would be treated on there, very similar if you're on a private jet. And it's just a great example. And I could give you lots of other examples here, guys, but you're starting to get the idea. Now, what does it cost to create raving fans? Virtually nothing. It costs a little bit of extra thinking time and some positioning and an intention to serve. Now, there's a caveat here. This is not level 3 mask under a level 2 agenda. Here's where the accountancy trap falls in. This is where we raise our frequency and life becomes non-linear rather than linear. See, on a linear basis, you expect the money to come back. Another example, a woman calls up at Worldwide Health. She's not a client, never called us before. She was recommended by a friend. And so she answers the phone, and my girl turns around and says, what would you like? She says, do you have anything for bruising? And the woman, Jenny says, well, yes, we do. We have a product called MSM, methanol sulfoname methane. It's very good for inflammation and reducing bruising. What seems to be the issue? Because we always ask questions. Turns out she'd taken a fall down the stairs. She was bruised all down one side. She didn't want to go to the doctors because she's on so many prescription medications. She thinks something else may contraindicate, so she's looking at something natural. She spoke to a friend. Her friend's a client. They recommended us. She calls, and now she's on the phone. So we explained the product. It's a little bit too pricey for her. She's not quite sure, got some uncertainty. So the first thing Jenny does on the phone, she says, listen, let me take your name and address. Let me send you a 7-day supply right now, so at least you can start getting out of pain, get the inflammation down, and then you'll know it works. And if you want to continue, you can do. Yeah, not a bad offer. Cost me, 7 capsules. Not a lot. But the reason Jenny did that was not to basically offer 7 days worth of product. It was to get a name and address, because she'd already spotted from a higher level of antenna a different opportunity to impress. So as soon as the phone went down, it bounced back up to Interflora. And she got a 30-pound bunch of flowers. And then she went to a special drawer we have in the office, whereby we have a card for every single eventuality you can think of. We used to have competition. You could find the most wacky card. If your hamster had a birthday, we had a card. Right. And we go to the market every couple of weeks and buy all the different cards. And we had blank cards, etc. But obviously, what card are we looking for here? Get well soon. So take a get well soon card, and we have it hand-signed by everybody in the office, and we send it off with the flowers. Now, the woman calls next day in tears, and I'll never forget what she said. She says, I never received or expected flowers from my best friend, let alone a health company I'd never dealt with before. Now, as a accountant level 2 line item calculator, you're saying, okay, so how much did she spend in return? Now, it doesn't matter. That's not the issue. If it didn't come back from her, it'll come back from somewhere else. If you live at level 3, it comes back. Now, it just so happened that this time she called up, and we did an audit at the end of the year on the amount of products that she ordered, which was like 3 every single month at that point on standing order, and how many friends that she recommended to us. That 30-pound bunch of flowers, let's say 5 quid's worth of staff time and some free tablets and some stamp, yeah, maybe a 10, let's call it 50 pound all in. Bought back £3,500 in business. Was it worth it? Damn right. Now, again, level 2 is, it's got to come back from her. Yeah, it was a transaction. We'll pretend to be level 3. So, yeah, it doesn't work if you're standing there at 3 o'clock the next afternoon and saying, you know something? That selfish bitch didn't call. It's the last bunch of flowers I'm sending. That doesn't work. Yeah, it's level 3 or nothing. So there's many different ways you can get involved here, but I promise you, anyone that lives at level 3, it will come back. Over and above. Doesn't have to be from her, could be somewhere else. That's the law of reciprocity. That is the law of the high levels of frequency. You get into through me at level 3. So, here's another example in action I like. This is a letter that was sent last year to Clark's Shoe Company. It was on social media. And Clark's Shoes, big national shoe companies, you probably know them. And a guy and his son walked in and bought a pair of shoes, and they walked out, they got home, they found out it was 2 left shoes. And he was all upset. So the father, being the father, decided to write to Clark's and post something on their social media saying, hey, listen, you screwed up. And what I think you should do is get a signed picture of my son's hero, Optimus Prime. And just posted it. Anyway, that was picked up by Clark's social media team. And this is what happened. A few days later in the post, they received a letter. And it said, Dear Sam, who was the kid, I am Optimus Prime, and I'm sending this message to you, Sam, and I cannot apologize enough for what has happened to you. An advanced team of Autobots rolled out to Clark's, and we were faced with the evil Megatron and his army of Decepticons. When all hope seemed lost, your brave father stood forward and defeated the evil Decepticons and restored harmony in Clark's once again. Yeah. The pair of shoes, your pair of shoes will be remembered, for now in their memory we walk on. And they sent him a new pair of shoes. Okay? Give a hand for Clark's, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what did that cost Clark's? And they got their artist, their graphic artist, to do a picture of Optimus Prime and signed it and put it in there. All right, now, what did that cost Clark's in actual hard costs? Rough? Guess? Like, not a lot. Bit of staff time. Yeah? Wholesale, like, pair of trainers. What do you think that brought them back in PR? That went viral. All right? They must have got $100,000 of the PR. Why? Because somebody had their antenna up and was hunting for an opportunity to impress. The best opportunities come out of fixing customer problems. So don't be afraid of that. Understand? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So I want to move forward. This is a raving fan policy is what we're going to be looking to do here. All right, we have on page 31, creating my raving fan policy. You have an opportunity right now to create a short sort of private jet promise, if you like, policy for how you as a business will operate. I've put mine on the board there on what we do, and I'll talk you through it. This is just some bullet points that starts the foundation of the culture for the staff and the team to buy into. This is kind of how we live. And one of the first things that we have on there, as you can see, is everything is a relationship. Would you agree with that? Absolutely. Business is H to H. What do I mean by that? Most people are still stuck in the old mindset of business to business or business to consumer. I think that's bullshit. Business is human to human. Let's understand, people buy people before they buy your products, ideas, services, or concepts. We hunt for opportunities to wow. That's what we're looking for. We are wow collectors. That's what we're in the business of, collecting wows. If you do that, trust me, your sales will take care of themselves. It's level 3 or nothing. We step up or we don't. This isn't a part-time thing. It's like, oh, well, business is going great, so yeah, we'll send some bonuses to the customers. That doesn't work. You live level 3 or you don't. Whoever discovers the problem owns the problem. I took that from the Ritz-Carlton. Yeah, if you ring up, if you're walking down the corridor and you meet the general manager of the hotel and you tell him that the light at the side of your bed isn't working, He may not be the one to actually replace the bowl, but he will own that problem until it gets solved. There's no hierarchy or significance involved in that. And we give from our overflow, filling our own cup first. I mentioned that a little bit yesterday. Yeah, we give from our overflow. You cannot give that which you don't have. So if you don't have level 3 for yourself, then you can never give it for your customers. You can never love somebody more than you love yourself, my friends. You can never put somebody else's needs higher than your own needs. You give from your overflow. Otherwise, you fall into the martyr pattern. Ladies, you're a sucker for this one. Right? Inability to accept rejection. Inability to say no. Inability to set boundaries. It's a common one. Guys too, but yeah, more often I see that in with ladies. So what happens is I'm going to sacrifice myself for everybody else because then nobody can reject me, and therefore I can't face the fear of not being enough. My mother ran that pattern. And nearly killed her, unfortunately. Right, so if you can understand that you give from your overflow first, you cannot love your clients more than you love your staff. You cannot love your staff more than you love yourself. Does this make sense?